Hello and welcome to the Writing Gals. Oh, I forgot to do our intro. Oh, well.
I was waiting for it to go.
Intro. Just imagine a fancy intro. Welcome to the Writing Gals tonight. We are talking about goal setting and what our goals are going to be for the next year. But before we get into that, let's talk about what the Writing Gals have been up to. So let's start with Judy. What have you been doing this week?
So this week I had a goal to finish my little short story that I was doing, and I finished it today. So that's exciting. It's just,
awesome.
It's for my first book. I had a bunch of readers request like a sequel, and I didn't really want to write a sequel, but I had kind of ended on a little surprise at the end that brought up a couple more questions, and so I just decided to write a little mini epilogue from a different character's point of view that will hopefully make everyone feel a little more satisfied. And so I got that done, and I'll just be giving it out to my newsletter subscribers after it's edited. So
awesome.
That's what I've done.
Sounds super fun.
Yeah.
And if anybody's into Judy's books and doesn't subscribe to her newsletter, go do it now so you get the free story first.
Yeah. And then I'm excited to start on my book 3 in my Second Chance for the Rich and Famous series soon, because I've been dying to write that book. So
ooh, fun. I can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Michelle, what have you been up to this week?
I am now in the middle of a 5-alarm scramble to finish my Christmas story. And last year I said I would not do this to myself, and I have done it to myself again. But I'm communicating with my editors who are on my side and ready to go. And I'm going to get it out, and it will go live on the 11th.
Nice.
So hopefully the story will be over when I publish it.
dot.
I might have to do a cliffhanger. Find out next Christmas.
Yeah, just write another epilogue like I did. Right. It works. People to subscribe to your newsletter. It'd be awesome.
You have to subscribe to see how the story ends.
Yes, good idea.
That wouldn't ruin my career or anything. So that's all I'm doing is just writing Christmas. And I took a brief break tonight to set my goals for the podcast tonight. And that's literally it. But as soon as I'm done with this book, I am starting my the second book in my Regency series. So I'm excited to actually move on to Regency.
Regencies. You do such a good job with Regency. So awesome.
Oh, thank you.
All right, Anne-Marie, what have you been up to?
Well, I'm kind of in the same boat as Michelle is, scrambling to finish my last Braxton Brothers book. But I have until December 31st, and I'm okay with pushing it out a little farther just because it is the 5th book and it's Christmas, but it's not the main seller of the book being Christmas. Not like my Christmas one I have launching right now. So, but I pulled a lot of my books and went wide. So I'm focusing a lot on that, researching wide market, researching what blurbs look like with wide books, getting plans. So when this book launches, because it's my whole Braxton series, I pulled and went wide. So it's trying to get all of those books up onto the other wide platforms. It's a huge undertaking. Like going wide is crazy. How much extra stuff you have to do on top of all your Amazon stuff. Yeah. So I'm doing that. And I have another book I'm releasing at the end of the month for my publishing house, which is done. And I got back from the beta readers, but I'm not going to touch it until I finish this book, which hopefully should be sometime next week. And then I can send it to my editor. And then it's kind of planning my 2020 goals. So, figuring out what I want to do for next year. And I don't know, celebrating the holidays, I guess. Always finishing a book. I'm always writing a book. I feel like everyone's like, how's writing going? I'm like, well, I'm writing another book all the time.
All the time.
You probably don't have to ask that question. It's like, how are your kids doing? They're stressful. So all the time. You don't even have to ask. You just have to just assume that I am writing a book and my kids are stressful. So
That's great. And I am finishing up my Christmas novella that I am publishing this month. And so I'm really hoping to get it to the editor tomorrow. I am right there near the cusp of the end. He's about ready to come and do his grand gesture and make her fall in love with him all over again, and happy ending. So super fun, and I'm super excited to get it out and to the world. So yay for Christmas stories. So we're going to talk now, answer some questions about goals. So I'm going to turn the time over to Anne-Marie, who has some questions for us to answer. And then we'll go through what our personal goals are for 2020.
So these are taken from Lee Savino's mastermind group. She's having a goal setting class group event in her thing. But I thought these would be good questions for us to answer here on the podcast, just from each other, kind of open up some dialogue and chat about it. But make sure you subscribe or you join her group because she is amazing at goal setting and manifesting your, what you want, and, just reaching higher levels than you thought was possible. So,
just so you all know, this is a for real live show. We're going into this totally cold. We don't know what questions are coming our way.
I know. So I could ask whatever I want. This is like a blank
check. Question.
Okay, so the first question, I think we should start out on a really positive note, because I think we can get really down in publishing. You see it a lot with other authors. You start to worry, am I just making a joke of myself by even thinking I could do any of this? Because people have highs and lows. And if you catch an author and at their very low, you're gonna absorb some of that frustration that they feel, and then you're gonna start to worry for yourself. So what was your greatest joy in 2019? Don't all speak at once.
So I had more fun writing my Regencies this year than I did anything else. And I got some reviews that compared me favorably to my favorite author, Georgette Heyer. And that was like the ambition that started me as a writer, was my love for her and wishing that someday I could be like her. So to get those reviews was like a massive check off on my bucket list, I guess you could say, that somebody would compare me favorably to her. So yay.
That's really awesome.
Victorine?
So this is anything or just writing related?
Sorry. My computer keeps thinking I'm saying Siri, and then it like pops it up, and now it did it again.
You have to do it writing related, because otherwise I would have like said my writing and you would have said like being with my husband or something, and then I'd look like a total loser.
Okay, so my highest thing, I guess, for this year, writing related, was getting to go on a writing cruise. No, but this relates to the Writing Gals, because it inspired me to start planning for a Writing Gals cruise. And so we are going to have one in the future, probably not 2020, but maybe 2021. So guys, this is awesome. It was so cool to do a writing cruise. Wouldn't it be awesome to do a Writing Gals cruise, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
if I don't,
that was my highest high.
Well, you'll still come. We'll just have a bucket everywhere you go. It'll be like your week-long, fast from food.
Yeah. It'd be like morning sickness all over again.
Oh, no.
4 times. You've got this.
You just wear the little patch and you're good.
Yeah, I'll have to get one of those. Okay. So I guess I'll go. My biggest joy of 2019 was probably I got my highest rank out of a book that I'd ever had. So that was nice. That was my Sweetwater High book, Kissing the Boy Next Door. So that was probably my happiest moment, getting closer to the 500s. It was in the 600s, which I had never been in before. So yep, that was it.
That's awesome. I have a lot of joys this year. I would say my biggest joy, though, the thing that I looked forward to the most was going to conferences just to be with my friends, like face to face, and getting to able to teach at RWA in New York and spending that week with my husband. I think those are probably my greatest joys. The most fun I had was hanging out with my friends because I'm lonely here.
There's things making me look bad. I totally would have said the same thing too. Like,
Yeah,
that
right.
was
Stop
no,
picking on my great answer, Michelle.
it's just like I feel super bad because I had to cancel on the Vegas thing and missed out another opportunity to do that. So I'm still kind of bummed about that.
That's
But
okay.
the writing retreat we had in February and the beginning of March, that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Except Amy kept wanting to watch movies instead of write because
I
she had been
know.
writing all the way up until the retreat. She was done.
I was like, this is party time. Why are you wanting to
Right.
write? We need to hang out.
I know. And I was on a deadline, so I was like, everyone be quiet. I have to concentrate.
Before we move on, I just have to say Amanda Panhorst knew which author I was talking about. So I'm totally impressed with her right now. Good job, Amanda.
I know who she is too.
I
know
didn't
it's
say your
right
name,
there.
so I was just like, oh, she knew who I was talking about.
We have people who know us. Okay.
Or know who
are we
writes
getting-
Goodreads anyway.
Okay, so the question now is, what tasks wore you out in 2019?
Or wore us out, like made us tired. Trying to rapid release the young adult series over summer vacation when my kids were home.
Yeah, that for me too. I was trying out rapid releasing and during the time when I was traveling and doing other things as well. And that was for me, I have learned for myself, I can't travel and try to write on a schedule at the same time.
Then you need to stop traveling. You travel so
I
much.
know.
How are you
I
ever going to be a
travel
writer again?
lot.
I'm not a writer. I'm a traveler now.
I know. She's serious. She is. She's traveling right now, right?
Yes, I am.
For me, what wore me out was having like super tight deadlines that I inflicted on myself. That was difficult, and I've learned that I'm not going to do that anymore. So, yeah. I just don't like the stress.
Yeah. I think for me, it was obsessing about every launch and where my rank was. That wore me out. Stressing about money wore me out as well. And I would also say on the other flip side, going to conferences wore me out too. I went to a lot and I learned a lot about myself and conferences and where I'm going to take my plans for 2019. So yeah, that's probably what, and my kids wore me out. So there's a theme here.
I just spent like the hour before we got on the broadcast cleaning up puke.
Oh no.
Amy is not the only one that gets worn out by her kids. It's just, I'm so there too.
It's just, that's the part of life we're in, right?
You love them, but they're a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this one's a fun question. If you got $10 million tomorrow, what are the first things you'd spend it on?
I would buy a new house.
A new house.
Definitely. Yes.
I'd go on more cruises.
Victory would just buy a cruise line.
I was gonna say she'd buy a boat
She could buy a private yacht.
Yeah.
with like a
I would
chef.
buy a house on the beach in Destin, Florida. I don't even like. I'm
Probably.
so specific.
In this
I'd buy the
location,
seahorse
on the
house.
street, with this house number on it. I don't care if people live
Literally,
there.
I would buy the seahorse house. There is this house on this particular road that has this big black seahorse on the front side of it, and it's beachfront. And I saw it was up for sale, and I saw like the inside of it. It's like my house, but it's owned by someone else. So the 10 million would come in handy.
Yeah. I would say I would pay off my house, remodel this house, then probably buy a couple more houses, other places, help my family out a little, reinvest a little, travel a lot. I mean, I would buy time with Chris Hemsworth. That's what I would do. First is that, and then I would do all the other stuff.
I wonder if his wife would have an issue with him being for sale.
See, and I would be like, I just don't even need like a relationship. I just want to sit and stare at you.
If he ever watches this,
Pay for you to be in my movie for one of my books. I would just force all my dreams to come true if I had $10 million. I love my husband, but it's Chris Hemsworth, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. Okay.
He might be the inspiration for the guy in my next book.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, this
Not
one's
to wear
awesome.
the fat suit.
Oh no. Okay, so what are you most proud of achieving in 2019?
I actually published the 4 books that I wanted to. I was proud of myself for that.
Awesome. Judy
Well,
hit a goal.
I would say even though it stressed me out to rapid release, I was able to write novellas in like 18 days at a time and get them out. So that made me happy that I accomplished that goal, even though it was stressful.
I would have to say that it's between almost doubling my income and getting to where I had like 3 crazy deadlines in a row that were impossible to make, and I made them all. It was kind of amazing because it shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I would say for me is I took risks. I don't know if everything's going to pan out, but I took risks, and I also am a much faster writer, and I think I'm a much better writer. And so that's probably what I am most proud of is my growth as a writer and then as a business person, because I think I can take all of the things that I learned in 2019 and make my 2020 just even better because I did all of these things. I tried all these things. I took all these risks. And now I know, okay, don't do that. And yes, do that. That sort of thing.
I think I also am proud of the fact that my readers are beginning to know me. I'm beginning to build a reputation with my readers as delivering a book that they're going to like. I was seeing it in reviews often this summer in my contemporary especially, but also in my Regency, that things like I can always count on Michelle Pennington to deliver a good story, that kind of thing in the review, that meant a lot to me, that it wasn't just this book was good, but that I was getting recognized as someone they could count on to deliver a good story. So that hit like a different happy button than just, the 5-star review.
Yeah, and I love it when people in my reviews now say, Anne Marie's blah, blah, blah series is my favorite, but now this is my new favorite. I love hearing, well, this was your best book ever. And I'm like, well, that's what you said in my last book. So which one's true? So hearing that I'm growing every time I write a book is very encouraging. So Siri keeps thinking I'm asking her. Ugh, I need to figure out how to turn that off. Okay, so what are your favorite ways to celebrate your success, and how often do you celebrate?
So I always take my family out to dinner when I publish a book. And then I recently started buying myself a cake and celebrating with that when I published the book. So, and then today, even just finishing my little 6,000 word epilogue, I went and got some crumble cookies for all of us to enjoy. I like to celebrate. It's great. And it's usually with food. So probably a problem, but it makes life fun.
So I figured out that I think we mentioned this. Did we mention this in the last podcast too, a little bit? Because I remember talking about my love affair with cured meats.
Oh, yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I realized, I used to buy myself my favorite salami. It sounds so dorky when I say it out loud.
Salami's delicious. So.
Yeah, it's expensive, so I don't do it very often. And it's like $50. So anyway, but I realized that I haven't been celebrating like any of my releases this year. Like none of them. It used to be such a big deal because I would do like 1 or 2 books a year. So since I did like 12 this year, I don't think I celebrated any of them. And I remember my last one, my husband's like, "Did your book go live?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, it published yesterday." And it was, "Oh, okay, back to business," So I clearly need to up my celebratory game. That needs to go on my goals for this year.
Yes.
Maybe I'll like meet my husband for lunch.
Nice.
Because
we usually do the. Oh, go ahead.
No.
I was just going to say, we usually do the go out to eat thing, like Judy said, or sometimes my husband and I will go to a movie. I love going to the theater, so that's a good celebration for me.
2 times we went on a vacation for mine. So.
Nice. You are the celebratory queen over there.
I know. I need to up my game.
Did I only write 4 books a year instead of 12?
I think I'm like, okay, that's published, on to the next. That's published, on to the next. But I realized this too, that for my sanity, I need to make each book more special to me. So this is, I don't really have any celebratory, because to me, releasing the book is only half the problem. And now I'm entering to the whole stress of launching a book, which is a whole nother stressful ball game. So, but that does get me thinking that I need to do that.
Maybe instead of having baby showers, we can have like a release day party for each other virtually somehow. We all need to up our game except Judy. She might need to slow hers down just a little in case we ever catch up more books.
Now those vacations, they were going to happen anyway. It was just happened to be right after I finished a book. So.
I can't handle any more cake pictures that make me drool. So,
yeah. Okay, so that is the last of the questions. Although I would encourage all of our listeners to map your author journey. So inside of that, maybe we can each post separately in the group of each of our own author journey instead of just talking about it. But look at how far you've come. So start with, how long did it take you to publish your first book? And then how much did you make your first month as an author, and then your first year? And then look at your journey and measure where you were and feel grateful for where you are now. Because I think we get wrapped up in a lot of comparisonitis or frustration with the expectations we put on ourselves. And when we can look back, and maybe like for Michelle, she could post when she launched and released alongside of her vacations and really look and see how little time she had and how much she actually got done. Because I think when you reframe things in a positive light, you feel more empowered with what you were able to do instead of more defeated in what you didn't get done. So, and if you want to share in the Writing Gals and celebrate, we will be happy to celebrate with you, because every step forward is a step away from where you were before, and another path on your journey to writer heaven. There you go.
So I spent a lot of time working on my plan for this year. We're going to talk about.
You guys should not have let me keep talking. You should have cut me off a lot sooner than that. You should have seen me. They're just all.
But I did all this work.
Okay, sorry.
You sounded like you were wrapping us up.
Oh, no. I was wrapping up my portion, and then I was going to turn the time over to Victorine.
Oh, great. Cool. Got it.
So you can keep talking now. Whatever you were going to say, go ahead. Michelle.
You're Victor. Me? So I get to share what I did today? Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things I really wanted to do this year was write smarter instead of, working harder. So
are you talking about 2020 or are you talking about 2019?
2020. I looked back at 2019 to learn from it in specific detail as I was making my decisions, my plan for 2020. One of the things that I did is I broke out my sales for the year by book, by genre, by series. I looked at all of them to figure out what actually was the most profitable for me. And that wasn't the only factor in my decision on what I was going to work on, but it definitely showed me some things that I didn't realize. And I did that by taking my total royalties and subtracting costs so that I got my actual profit on a book. And then I divided that by the number of words in the book, because I do write 30,000, but I had a few full lengths. So I feel like if I had written full length books this year, I obviously would have made a lot more money. Well, it's hard to say because I wouldn't have gotten out as many books. But at the same time, if all those books had been longer, then they would have each been more profitable. So anyways, and then I came up with a like how many cents per word I made on those books. So it's just a way for me to try to figure out where the profit was. And I ended up seeing by far my biggest profit in contemporary, which kind of surprised me because I was thinking it was going to be Regency. And it wasn't. It was still in contemporary. And young adult came in as the loser of the group. It was so far behind. I didn't even measure fantasy, actually, because I only have one book out and I published it last year and I haven't done anything with it yet. So I didn't even measure fantasy. So I just decided that my Regency could have done better if I had more books out in it, if I had published more frequently, because I only released 2 Regency titles this year. So taking all that into consideration, I am not writing any contemporary young adult next year. I'm not saying I never will again, but it just, for me, even though it's fun and I really like it, it isn't making me personally the money that I need to be making this year. So I'm going to be focusing on Regency and contemporary. Contemporary, I'm going to be doing 1 series this year with 3 books in it. And then I'm going to finish my Regency series because, as I think you guys know too, like the box sets are really where the money starts coming in for me. When I really look at it, it's when I'm able to put a box set for a series together that I start making the money. So my biggest goal right now, I think, is to finish a Regency series and get a box set out and see how that performs for me. So I think that is my biggest like writing and publishing goal for next year, is to finish a Regency series. And then at the beginning of 2021, in January, when sales are always good, have that box set ready to go. So that's that. And so I went to TJ Maxx looking for a bathroom mirror, and I found this cool, I already have a bunch of planners, but I found this one, and it's a monthly calendar, and then it's got like all these like tons of just notes in the back, and these cameras are weird. Okay, I'm gonna move this way. We've got my whole year here in months. So what I did was I kind of mapped out my plan for when I want to release, when things are going to be in drafting, when they're going to be in editing, and kind of move myself through the year. And then in my washi tape over here on the other side, I've got all my it's kind of my key for what I have set up in my calendar inside, and just how I'm going to get all my projects done this year, and then my goals for 2020. And I really like that. And then in the back, I'm going to have this running to-do list of all my publishing things, because I've tried the Kanban boards. I've tried writing a new list every day and all these sorts of things, and things get lost and forgotten, and I lose. I've had a Kanban board set up, and my niece got a hold of it and tore all my Post-it notes off like twice. And so I was just like, I'm done with this. So this is my new thing. It's just going to be a rolling to-do list, just constantly adding things, checking things off. And that way I'm going to be able to keep everything in one place this year and not lose anything.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So is each washi tape a book?
Yes.
So how many books do you have planned for this?
12. That's what I did this
Really?
year.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
That's crazy.
I did this year. And 2 of them are already started.
Wow.
So it's not like I'm starting from scratch on all of them. 2 of them are already started. And then I actually have built into my plan a longer window of time for editing than I actually need, so that I can shift around and move around here and there. And this is all based on me writing 2,000 words a day only, which I can do. So as I counted my days and did the word count,
So are they full length or are they novellas?
they're all going to be 50 or 40 to 50,000 words.
Do you
I'm-
ever like delete words? Because I tried like doing that for myself, and I always end up deleting a lot of words. So I'm like, I have to factor that in too. Dang it.
I don't delete words. If I get them down there, they just kidding.
I find a way to make them work.
Yeah.
I really don't like lose huge pieces. If I delete, it's usually like blocks instead of like whole chapters. But that's part of why I write so slow. If I wrote faster, I might make that. I don't know. I write slow enough that what I end up with is usually pretty much what I publish, except for editing. So anyway, that's 2,000 words a day, which I can do. I'm really pretty comfortable writing in the 2,000 to 3,000 range. I have days where I can write 4 to 7 or 8,000 once in a great while. And when I can make those days happen, that's great. But 2,000 a day I can do without stressing myself out. And that's not counting all my Sundays, which I don't write on Sundays, holidays, and I've got all my family vacation days blocked off. So
Wow, Michelle.
that's the plan.
Well,
Now,
maybe I can write 12 books then, because I can write 2,000 words a day.
I know.
They just have to be shorter books. So
Yeah. Well, like I said, 2 of these are already started, but
I feel like now I want to know what you're writing because I don't remember you ever saying you wanted to write 12 books. So now I'm like, what books are you planning?
I was afraid to think of it. So like I said, I'm finishing my Regency series, which is 1, 2, 3 books. No, 4 books. So that's 4 of them is the rest of my Regency series. I'm writing a 5th book in my Billionaire series to rejuvenate that one right at the beginning of the year. I'm writing 3 books in the New Contemporary series. So what are we at? 8. Then I'm writing 3 books in my fantasy project. Is that 11? And then I'm writing my Christmas book, which is 12. But that's also not counting my 2 novellas for my author collaborations.
We keep saying to each other, we're like, we're going to write less books next year. And then Victorine, I was talking about all the books I'm going to write. She's like, wait, I thought you were writing less books, Amy. What is going on here?
But the thing is like, I have 30 more books I also want to write. So
I know. How do you pick which ones you want to write? And I think being like so intentional like you are this year, I think it's going to be really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, I built into my schedule the fact that I do procrastinate, and I do need to take days when I don't write at all, which is why I kept the really low word count. So I can still, pull off like a 5,000 or 6,000 word day if I need to like chill out a little bit. And we'll see how it is. The thing is that all of these are my deadlines. So I'm not killing myself over it. And I have a window of time when I'm working on my fantasy project where I'm going to be writing ahead and not publishing until the first 2 are written. And I'm hoping that by doing that, I'm going to skip ahead of my usual schedule. So I'm at least 1 book ahead of where I'm publishing. That's another one of my goals this year, is to get 1 book ahead of where I'm publishing. So I don't have this crazy stress that I have right now. My book is due live in 4 days and I'm not ready to go. So go ahead.
Sorry. I want to hear all your goals. Since you're talking anyway, let's just hear all your goals and we'll go through everybody. We'll start with you, Michelle.
Yeah. So I already mentioned what did I just say?
Your 12 books?
Yeah, but that's like that. I'm not going to let procrastination derail me. And I'm going to focus on that by accepting it. And that seems really strange, but I'm accepting I'm going to procrastinate. I'm going to allow myself to procrastinate and plan for my procrastination. And we'll see how that goes, because it's a monster that's not going anywhere. I'm going to go to bed earlier, guys. I'm going to go to bed early, and I'm going to try to wake up at 5 o'clock to write every morning. Because I did it on vacation when we were gone on vacation the last week for Thanksgiving. I woke up and wrote at least 1,000 to 1,500 words every morning. Doing that, I write really good in the morning when my brain is fresh and nothing else is and nobody's on social media distracting me, and nobody's calling me, and nobody needs me. So it's just, but I have to start getting my kids up at 6:15. So if I can get up at 5, I'll have at least an hour to write every morning, and then I'll just be going into the whole day already ahead. So is it worth me making myself go to bed early so I can get up at 5? Absolutely. That's literally my number one goal this year, is to do that.
We might need to change our writing gals thing to be like in the afternoon so we can all go to bed early.
I know the reasons we had it late at night, I think, are not really as big of a deal anymore. I don't know, because now, I don't know. But I'll stay up late twice a month for you guys. It's okay. I'm going to work to my strengths, so I'm going to focus on the things that I know I'm good at, and make sure that those are the things that I'm using in my process, that I'm good at research, I'm good at gathering information, that I'm good at humor, and I'm good at writing suspense, and I'm good at writing like descriptive detail and characters. So I'm going to like make sure that I'm infusing all of those things into my stories and not just pushing through them. And I'm going to try to have fun this year, enjoy what I'm doing, and take breaks when I need to, and find balance in my life. And so those are like my overall goals, and I'm going to have to figure out how to like make them specific so I can determine whether or not I've reached them and remind myself to be doing them. But those are my basic goals for the year. I'm not setting a monetary goal necessarily this year, because that, I think, stressed me out a lot. So I'm just going to try to, generally be growing.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right. Who wants to go next?
I will.
Okay, Judy. Yay.
Okay, I'll go. Okay. So I just have them written down. So I'll just read through them so that I know what I'm doing. Okay. So one of my goals is to try to not let the business stress me out so much, because it does that a lot and just kind of gets me down and messes with my brain. And so to try and make that possible, I'm going to be a lot like Michelle, try to go to bed earlier at night, and then try to do my miracle morning in the mornings, because I found that when I was doing that more often, I was a lot more successful and just in a better frame of mind, and just, started my day off right, instead of waking up with the kids and making my lunches and going, and then I don't get to do what I want to first thing. So just try to take care of myself a little bit more. And then also with that, not letting the business stress me out, I kind of mentioned earlier that I didn't want to like set really hard deadlines that were set in stone. Because last year I would like set up my newsletter swaps and pre-orders before the book was even finished, and they were closer than they should have been, and I was rushing at the end. And I just don't like that, because then I don't feel like I can spend as much time as I really want to make my books shine the way that I want to. And so I'm just not going to do those anymore and finish the book and then set up everything after that. That's what I did in 2018, and it worked great. And I don't know why I made myself crazy this year. So, yeah. And then also I'm going to just try to like stick to my work hours during the day, and then be done at like 5, or, well, I guess my kids get home and I take them to all their activities some days at 3. So whatever time I have to take care of my kids, I'm going to try to let that just be done and get myself to do everything before that, just so that I have a more balanced life, and not letting it seep into everything, because it's my work. It's not my everything. So try to make that possible. Another thing, I want to build my reader base more. So I want to increase my newsletter subscribers and my social media following in a way. And so I'm thinking I'll probably need to write a reader magnet for my adult books just to, because I do young adult and then I also do adult. And so I have a young adult reader magnet, which is, done well. But I need to probably have something to get the other readers there. So they're there when I'm publishing the books. So, and then I also want to go back to just sending out one newsletter a week instead of 2, so that it can be like more engaging and just like I feel like I have something I actually need to say to them instead of like, hey, here's some other books that I'm swapping with other authors. Yay. So I'm going to try to go back to doing that, except for, that's pretty much it. And then I want to get better at advertising and promoting my books because, I have a little bit of a backlist now and I want to be able to have that going strong. And then I would love to write and publish 4 books again this year. And I know I can do that at least. I would love to get more, of course, but at least 4 and I'll feel like I'm doing okay. And then probably also a box set for my young adult series since that's pretty much done now. And I've thought about maybe taking that young adult series wide also, but we will see. If it keeps selling well in just being in KU, then I'll keep it there. And then another thing, I would just love to read more books because that helps keep my brain happy and creative. And I don't do nearly enough of that and try to make myself read instead of getting on social media whenever I pull out my phone. Just make my Kindle app be a little like bigger or something. So just make it be like, do this instead. So that's what I'm going to do. And those are my goals. So.
Great. Love
love
them.
that.
They're great. All right. Anne Marie Meyer.
Oh my gosh. So mine are not specific at all. So these are like goals that I'm writing down, and then I will sometime this week or next week when my book is finally written, I will write down more and have a beautiful calendar. I plan my years, but I plan my writing every 4 months is what I do. I have 4 calendars I put up on my giant bulletin board in my office, and then I say these months I need to write, and I do my washi tape like Michelle does that for each book. So I know, okay, my goal is to finish this book by this week, but I have ripped washi tape off and replaced it with different washi tape, and it's a flexible thing. And then I got little sticker things to be like, I need to promo this book, and I kind of stick it off to the side, and then I plan. So I really have to plan like quarter at a time. I have a harder time planning like a yearly because my year changes so much. I think, I'm going to write this series. I mean, last year I thought I was going to write series in my Hamilton Prep School series, and I did not write one. So I get distracted by other books and other, sparkly things over there. Ooh, that looks fun. Let's go do that. But I'd probably say my biggest goal for 2020 is moving some books wide, figuring out wide platform, which is really funny because as an author, I'm looking at leaving KU and going wide. And there's so many wide authors that are leaving wide and coming into KU. So it's kind of interesting how it becomes this cycle that you don't have to make a decision and it has to be your forever decision. You can come in and out of it as much as you want. So that would probably be my biggest goal. My second goal is to write less and profit more, which is like, I'm going to eat less and be skinny more. Like, it's just kind of like, or eat more and be skinny, which is kind of an interesting proposition. But because I think my biggest mistake is that because I'm launching so many books that I don't ever give one launch my 100% focus, that I launch a book, I put it up. I'm like, I was at RWA and I was like, oh, I had a book that went live like 2 days ago and I had completely forgotten it had gone live because when I was at RWA, but 2, because I just move on so fast. And I've been doing a lot of author researching and looking at other authors and stalking them on Facebook and seeing what they're doing. And a lot more authors are more focused on that one book and finding new readers for that one book instead of just selling continually to their readers. And I think by slowing down and being more intentional with my books and my launches, that book will not only make me more money in the long run, but it'll slow me down and it will make me happier and more enjoying the ride and the journey of, keeping my book where it needs to be. So that's a goal of mine. So instead of setting a monetary goal for myself, my goal next year is to bring home a greater percentage of profit. So right now I'm about 50-50. 50% goes to everything. I mean, covers, editing, which when I release a lot of books, I'm paying a lot of money, and then there's advertising and there's promos and there's a new computer and all these other things. So my goal is just to bring home a greater percentage. I don't necessarily need to make more money, but I want to bring home more. So that would be a goal. I have a lofty goal of USA Today list going wide. So it's a possibility, but probably not, but I'm going to put it up there and see. Another goal is better choices for my health. So eating better, exercising, going to bed, because I've really taken a toll on my body this year and having a lot of back issues, and I'm at the chiropractor a lot. Sorry. And so making sure that, but I think those are like more focused goals I need to have. And then the last one is just remembering my time is precious. So focusing on the things that will make me money, and not going to every single conference that looks interesting, making sure it's going to be worth my time. For me, conferences aren't going to be as effective, but more writing retreats where I leave my family and I'm actually getting words down, which will then turn into profit instead of just going to conferences. So that's going to be my goal. And I need those breaks. Like I need time away to be able to focus on myself and not just be, because I'm always half, right? I'm half mom, half writer all the time. I'm never 100% one way or the other. And so retreats help me do that. But then knowing when I'm here with my family, I need to be here with my family. And I need to, I'm not so good at ending the day at 3:00 because sometimes my day is full of grocery shopping. And so if my day is full, because I do not want to take 5 kids to the grocery store. So if my full day is grocery shopping, then some of my writing time does need to bleed into the evening. But I need to say, there's a time where I need to turn my computer off and I need to focus on my kids and do that. So I'll have more specific goals set for myself, but for now it's probably, I think my overall thing is just balance. Finding more balance in my life.
That's awesome. That's really good. So I will share my goals with you now. My number one goal is to reduce my stress for the year. So under that goal, as some sub goals are all the things I'm not going to do. So I have a list of Victorine gets to be lazy this year list. So I'm not going to do pre-orders because I tried that and I hated them. I didn't feel like my launches went as well with my pre-orders, and it just could be because maybe my readers just have been trained for the way I do it, and switching it up and trying to do it someone else's way maybe just didn't work for me. So anyway, I tried it. I am all about trying things, and if they don't work, then trying something else. So this year I'm trying no pre-orders. That means I have no hard deadlines, which will reduce my stress. So I'm happy about that. I'm not going to join any multi-author collaborations. That made me super stressed this last year, having some of those and having to set aside things I was doing for me to finish something I was doing for a collaboration. So that was super stressful. So I'm not going to do that. There's one that I always do that's really short that's working really well for us. So I'm going to do one. The rest I'm going to say no to. I am going to be flexible about my publishing dates. I am going to set publishing date goals, but I'm not going to set up swaps until I'm done with the book. I can set up swaps when it's at the editor, right? So I have a window of time there.
Sounds like we learned some very similar things this year.
I think
I'm
me and
currently
Judy are on the same.
rescheduling swaps.
Yeah.
If any of the ladies I'm rescheduling with are watching, I'm so sorry. And you're all angels.
So that's one of my goals is be flexible. I'm also, as I schedule books, I'm going to build in downtime, because I did build in a little downtime, but I was like, okay, 3 days rest and then go to the next book. But I need more than 3 days rest. I need some input days, like a couple of weeks where I can watch Netflix all the time and just eat chocolate. And so I'm building in more downtime for myself. I'm going to reduce the number of conferences and places where I'm traveling. this next year because I did a ton of traveling this last year, and that upped my stress level of trying to get words down and books out. Okay, and then for my will do goals, I am going to write down my word count goals every day, and I'm going to be more deliberate about planning books and how long it's going to take me to write by writing bite-sized, like Michelle, 2,000, 3,000 words a day type goals, so that I can plan out, okay, this is how many weeks it's going to take me to write this book, and be more deliberate with my writing time. Another goal of mine is to get 6 books out or novellas out over the year. So I'm not as ambitious as Michelle.
Okay. Everybody in the comment section, everybody's like, Michelle's crazy. And I'm like, okay, I get it.
Well, it's just, you know, if yours are shorter, it's fine. Like mine are all longer.
That's right.
That's why the 4
And I
is
did
my
it this
number.
year.
So,
Right?
yeah.
You did it this year. Yeah, you did it. So I am going to be less ambitious, and my goal is to get 6 done in the year. How many did I do this year? I don't even know. It might have been 6, somewhere around there. I'll have to count when I have time. But that's my goal, is every other month I want something to be published. And on the months where I'm not publishing, I want to have a deliberate promotion set up to boost the sales of that month. And then my last goal is less Facebook scrolling. I want to, if I get on Facebook, I want to set the timer, 15 minutes, check what everybody's doing, comment on, in our group, answer questions. Then when that timer goes off, get off Facebook, start my word counts, because that's my big time suck. I love scrolling Facebook and looking at all the funny memes and answering questions and stuff like that. So I'm going to do it, but do it less so that I can have more deliberate time for writing.
I feel like I'm in a restaurant, and you know how when you just ordered your food and the waitress is gone, and then there are waiters coming by with the food, and you're like, oh, I want that. Like that's, that's
yeah.
I feel like that as we're all talking about our goals. I'm like, I'm stealing that one, and I'm using that one too. So I think my goal list has gotten twice as long since we started.
Awesome.
I wonder if our followers are like that too. They're like,
I bet. I hope we're giving everybody good ideas of what
more Netflix and chocolate. Yes.
Yes. That is a great goal, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we did have a couple of questions. So let me put them up. Judy, somebody, Facebook user, it's not telling us the names of these people. So sorry, Facebook user. Somebody asked, what's a miracle morning?
Okay, so A Miracle Morning, it came from the book called The Miracle Morning. I can't remember. Oh, Hal Elrod, I think is the author's name. And basically it's just you start out your day like filling your tank kind of. And so for mine, it's, it's supposed to be like an hour. And so the things that he recommends is to do these things called savers. And so and I haven't done it for a while, obviously, so I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to remember them all. But one of them, okay, so S is for silence. So like I'll meditate for like 5 minutes. And then A is for affirmations. And so I have this list of affirmations that I'll read to, kind of get me pumped up about life and, and remember your goals. And then V is for visualizing. And so just kind of visualize what I want my day to go like, and then, or also visualize what I want my future to look like. And so like, sometimes I'll like, you visualize yourself writing your book and having a good time writing your book. And the words are coming out easily and it's a great book. And then you visualize your readers reading the book and loving it. So just those are some things, specific to a writer that you can do. And then E is for exercise. So you also do like 20 minutes of exercise or however many minutes you have. And then R, I don't remember what.
What are you spelling?
Savers. It was his savers.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not miracle. What are you spelling?
Yeah. Sorry. Okay, so then the R is for reading. So you spend like 20 minutes reading, and then S, because he had to make a word, is scribing. So that's writing. So like writing in your journal, these your thoughts, and so that's like what my miracle morning will look like, and it just kind of you take care of yourself and your needs, and so that then you can take care of everything else that you have to do during your day. So. And it makes you excited to wake up because you're like, I get to do my miracle morning and do all those fun things in the morning instead of where otherwise I'm like needing some me time in the nighttime and I'm just wasting my time on social media and, not really helping myself. So this is just it's a good thing for me. And it's been proven that it helps people be more successful. And so, yeah,
Cool.
that's what it is in a long explanation, but it's a great book, so read it. And then there's also a miracle morning for writers also that was really helpful. I only read the first half so far, but it's really good. So yeah,
awesome. Thank you, Judy.
Yep.
We do have another one. Oh, did somebody have a comment? No. Okay. Haley James wants to know, you might have already answered this a long time ago, but I was wondering, how did you writing gals meet and become such good friends?
Critique group.
Yep.
We talked more about it, I think, in the first podcast. So go all the way back to.
We met in online critique groups because we're all from lots of different areas all over the country. So we met online and clicked and formed our group from there.
Yeah.
It was awesome. All right. Let's see. Are there any other questions? Yes. Well, if you gals were launching a book now in December or January as a new author with no readers or fans, what basic steps would you take on a tight budget?
Newsletter swap. Oh,
yeah. Go ahead, Judy.
Oh, I was saying newsletter swaps. Those are free,
Yes.
So that's what I do.
Make sure your covers, tagline, and blurb are on point, and that your keywords and your what else was I going to say? Yeah, and your categories are all where they need to be.
Yeah.
So.
And find other authors who are writing what you're writing so you can swap with them and collaborate with them and, advertise for them and they can advertise for you.
I would say, especially when you're first starting out, make sure you get beta readers. And I would have a goal going into reading the comments in your book of what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. And you could say, okay, now I'm going to sit down and I'm going to look at all these comments that people have given me. And if it comes up 3 times, then I know I need to change something. So because you can get overwhelmed with comments, you can get overwhelmed with all those kinds of things. And the same thing comes from blurbs and same thing comes from covers. If you post your cover or blurb up, you have to be prepared to have a lot of critique. However, on top of that, I would say be flexible in changing things because your book, when you're creating it, is your baby. But once you start talking about selling it, has now become a product for you to sell. And you still love it and you're still going to want it to do well, but you have to be okay with killing your darlings. And especially, I think it's frustrating as I try to be always be very open. But when you go into critique groups and you ask for critiques and people give them, and then you just spend the time defending why you want to do it, then there's really no growth that's happening, and now we're wasting people's time. So if you are willing to listen, then critique groups are very, very helpful, and they can make you a better author and a better marketer. So that would be my biggest advice.
And usually the best thing to say is just say thank you for that critique, and then soak it in and think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just read all the comments and then I close it and I don't look at it again for another week because sometimes you just have to let those comments percolate and just be like, well, because your first defense is like, no, it's not. And then you're like, well, yeah, maybe. Okay, I could see it. So,
Yep, exactly. All right. Question 2. Do you think a romance author can sell well without using Facebook because authors talk about Facebook so much?
I don't know if you're talking about ads or you're just talking about being on Facebook. I think you can sell
pages and that everything.
I think that's a level up type of author thing. I mean, you can have them, but I don't think they're necessary. And I think you can sell well without them.
Yeah, I think you can sell just fine without Facebook. But I find Facebook groups of authors really helpful for me because authors share so much information and knowledge with each other that's what I mostly use Facebook for. And ads do help, but you don't have to have them to sell well. All right. Question: aside from reviewing what sold best for you in 2019, how do you plan and prep for what genres and tropes will potentially sell in 2020?
Wait. Put that question back up. What did it say?
How do you plan for what tropes and things will potentially sell for the next year?
For me, what I do is I first think about what I want to write, and then I find ways to marry that to what is selling. I'm also learning that wide and KU are two very, very different things, and you're reaching two very different audiences. So you have to keep those things in mind as well. But I think, first of all, you have to love what you're writing and then find a way to see what's selling in 2019. Because honestly, we talk about trends and like billionaires a trend, but really all these tropes are tried and true. Yeah. And so you can find ways to make them, that you can find a way to make pretty much any trope you want to write sell, I think.
If you can get a hold of like a list of movies that are coming out this year, or I know there's a lot of like lists for books that are highly, like what's this?
Anticipated?
Yeah, anticipated. Thank you. Sometimes my brain doesn't spit out the word I want. For the coming up year, those will kind of give you some hints as to what all the talk is going to be about. And you can start pulling some themes if you see anything that's common, or and even if they don't all hit the ground like really big like they're expected to, that's going to be part of the conversation. And if you see a lot of it happening, then pay attention. If it's like a one-off thing, it might not. But like if there are a lot of fairy tale movies coming out, then maybe now's the time to write that fairy tale book that you've always been, looking to write. So that's one way to know. But I think a big thing is just to be flexible. So like on my schedule, even though I've written down that I have 12 books, I haven't decided what my contemporary series is going to be yet, because I'm not writing it until the second quarter of the year or into the third quarter even. And so I don't want to make that choice and that decision and get locked in on it, because I want to wait and see what the market's doing then before I decide. So just, build some goals in, but be really flexible so that you can adjust and tweak accordingly.
Good. All right. Tammy asks, I came in late. What were the sticky things you were talking about for the calendars?
Should I talk about washi tape?
Or I had sticky things on my calendars, so we could talk about both. So you talk about washi tape?
Yeah, maybe you are the one that did say sticky things, like stickers. So the washi tape is just decorative, like tape that you can use to mark out a visual line on your calendar when you're going to be working on something. A lot of people use that as part of their process. And I find it really helpful, because I'll say something like start this book here, finish by here, edit by here, publish by here. But it doesn't all kind of like come together in my head as a cohesive thing. So if I use the washi tape on my calendar and outline that whole process, and I can look at it and just see that project happening. And part of ADHD is actually time blindness. And so it's especially helpful for me to be able to see the representation of what I'm thinking in my head. So, and you can also see where things overlap. So a lot of my drafting overlaps with my editing for another book, because that's off with someone else working on it and not my problem at that moment. So it's good to kind of see where how your projects all kind of like intersect too.
Perfect.
And washi tape's good because it peels off pretty easily.
Yeah,
so you can adjust it, which I do a lot.
Just go to your local Joann's or Michael's or the Hobby Lobby and say, where's your washi tape? And they will point you to it. And then you have lots and lots of tape to pick from.
They have it at Walmart in the stationery.
Oh, Walmart. Yep.
Yeah.
And I bought a pack on Amazon that was super cheap, and it had a ton of different tiny thin ones, which was really fun.
And I like to put them on my calendars, and then I always put the stars for the day of what I've written, because there's some days I'm writing in 2 different books. So I like to have that. It makes me feel really accomplished when I have those separate lines and I can say, here's the day that I wrote those 5,000 and or 4,000 or 2,000 or however many. And then I also like being able to just go, for me, I'm not so much of a planner person. I'm a on the wall kind of person, but I'm not on the wall and kind of a Kanban. I'm more of a on a calendar. I can see, I can stand and look, I can be talking to my kids and walk over it. And it's really satisfying to see the progression. And now that I have this December and I've been doing this calendar type thing, I've been doing it for a while, but having the 4 out for the months, it's nice to look back and be like, wow, look how many words I did get. And look how productive I was, even though I felt like I wasn't. Or wow, I'm very productive in the end of the month because I'm scrambling to hurry up. So maybe then I can try and be more focused and spread that out. But you don't know where you need to grow if you don't track where you are, because then you can't say I would never have known that, because every day is just like a giant blur to me.
Yeah, one thing that was helpful for me is I was able to see what I wanted to do and what I actually ended up doing. So it
helps you plan better.
See where I need to adjust my planning. And Amy and I and Judy does bullet journaling a lot, which I am starting in 2020. Judy, I'm doing a bullet journal this year. We'll have to share. But the thing is,
it's amazing.
We all talked about, we try things, we experiment and see what works and what doesn't. And so I spent a lot of time in 2019 trying a lot of different planning methods, and I've come up with a system that I like. And I've even created planning pages, and I'm thinking about possibly sharing them in the group in case anybody wants them.
Good.
So I'm thinking about
and for me, I'm the opposite. I try to do bullet journals, and I get I have anxiety, and I think I get overwhelmed with all the options. It's like those, how they're like, color this picture and meditate, and it's so calming, and I hate those coloring books, because I'm like, what is this supposed to be colored? You need to tell me what this color. It stresses me out. Those are not calming for me at all. So to me, I try to think I can do bullet journals, and I just end up hating them. So that's just not, I would rather put up Facebook ads and AMS ads than do a bullet journal. So I am on that.
See,
they're so completely opposite. And so what I've been trying to do more watercolors, and I'm learning brush lettering because I need to dip more into that art part of myself and have the downtime. So I actually got a bullet journal that's got 160 gram paper, so I can do watercoloring and brush lettering and all this sort of stuff along with my other stuff. So it's going to be an artistic, downtime, relaxing, chill factor kind of thing.
Not relaxing for me at all.
That's what mine is for. That's my I can just design a cute page for the week, because I only do one.
Well, I sat next to Judy at 20 Books, and she's writing notes, and it's all pretty cursive, and she's making it look even prettier. And I'm like, my writing is chicken scratch. It is what did I write? I don't even know.
my handwriting is my only form of art kind of thing. I don't draw stuff. I write, and
I like destroy my house and then I fix it up. That's me. Or I sew. I like sewing, but I'm other things like that. I just.
All right. We have another question. Stone McGuire says, how did you choose and where did you go to find your editor for your books?
For me, I just asked other authors to recommend editors, and I went that way. So.
And once you find somebody who's good, don't let go of them.
Yes.
Exactly. I found mine is a friend, and she was looking for more work, and I said, sure, let's try her out. And now she's awesome. And she was good when I picked her up, but it's nice. She knows me and she knows my voice. And I said, I'll give your name out, but I get first dibs. And she's very good at fitting me in at the last minute and being fast and effective. So
great.
Yeah.
That's always nice.
I'm very selective on who I give my editors' names to, but I'm still looking for the proofreading member of my team. One of mine I stepped away from this year. Another one, her husband was in a tragic accident, and so she had to quit to take care of him. And then I have a few people who kind of volunteer for me still, but I'm still looking for that proofreading team. And so I feel like it's just one of those things you got to try people and see how it works, how your working relationship goes, and just move forward. But it's all throwing noodles at the wall, right, guys?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
J. Cal said, I noticed Emery published her Christmas books without couples on them. Is it selling better?
So my Christmas books are wide. And when I was looking at doing my covers for that, one, it's an inn themed book where it's centered around this inn that she's inherited and she needs to sell. So that was following that trope. But again, I was looking at all the other books that I would market. So I'm learning that if you market books, you need to market wide books to wide authors and KU books to KU authors. That if you market your wide book to KU authors, it doesn't work as well. You'll get lots of clicks, but then no buys, and you're not waiting on page reads because you don't have them coming in. So when I thought about it and I said, okay, if I was to put my book in that also bots of these wide authors, would a couple kissing match? And most of the time, 9 times out of 10, the answer would be no. And so I want to be on point with my covers. And so that's what I chose. Is it selling better? No, because wide is a whole nother ball game and I am having to learn it. So I have KU down. I have couples on covers. I have sexy guys on covers down. This is a totally different thing. So yes.
So we shall see.
My answer.
It's a long game doing wide. So
yeah.
One of those things that we'll see in 6, 8, 12 months how it's going. Micah says, do you think it's wise to see what is selling in contemporary steamy romance and write a clean and wholesome version of it? Like Billionaire Romance was so big and it's become popular and clean.
Yes.
I think it's a good idea.
Definitely.
It doesn't always work. We thought it would almost always work. But then reverse harem and bully romances got really, really big this year, and those don't translate over to clean and wholesome.
No.
I mean, I've seen people try them, but not with any success. So we're still looking to see if.
And dark romance doesn't work either.
No,
there's just some gritty things that really that need the grit.
Yeah. So we're still watching to see if anything else emerges in steamy, but in the meantime, we're sticking with the tried and true that works. So
right. And what I would suggest then is pull other aspects, because there's no just one trope ever in one book. So what I would pull is like, well, is it a family? Is it a sports team? Is it a rom-com? Well, rom-com wouldn't be dark romance, but is it a boss? Like, what else is happening in the story that you can then find a way? But then you'll just start finding all the tropes are in the books. So but I would not try to market like a super dark romance as sweet. I think you would just confuse people.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. Susan, do you make an audible for every book or an audio book?
I try, but it takes a lot of money, and so I get behind on myself.
So this is my question. Let me add on to it a little bit. So for me, that I have this pretty big backlist now that has very little audio in it. I'm feeling like I only need to focus on getting audio done for the new books that I'm publishing, because I feel like audio probably does better for books at launch when they're selling their best than when they're kind of starting to fall in your backlist. But what do you guys think? Because you got way more than I do.
I just paid for one of my Billionaire books to be made into Audible because I slacked off and didn't do it. It's like over a year old now, I think. But it was the only one. I have 4 Billionaire books, and it was like the last one. I did never do it. So I just had somebody do it just recently. So we'll see if it actually does anything. But I would say, for me, the books that sell really well, I do into Audible, and the books that don't, I think it's probably not worth it. for my money to be sunk into something that isn't selling in book form. So I don't do those. So I kind of wait a little bit to see how well the book, sells. And if it starts going strong, then yeah, I'll go ahead and schedule it.
And one thing to keep in mind is your genre too, because we've seen reports where audio sells a lot better in, say, fantasy than it does in romance.
Well, you can also look at the percentage of audiobooks that are actually out there. So contemporary romance, there's a ton of audiobooks, but if you go into like fantasy, sci-fi, and you drill it down even more, you'll notice there's less and less in those categories. And that could be one that you could focus on. What I would say is that Audible or ACX is making it easier for you to market your book by giving you codes, which you actually get paid for and help boost your rank. So I would say, personally, what I would do is I would focus on your Billionaire series. Oh, you already sold that, so don't do that. I would focus on your Fast and Rich. Rich and Famous.
Fast and Rich too. I might do that one next.
Yeah, there you go. I would focus on those ones and get them out, and maybe get them, like, put one out each month, because that sells well for you. And then, so I try to look at people who sell well, and Chris Fox is one of those. And so I'm always kind of like, when I was at Nink, I was like, how do you sell your audiobooks? And he says he sells his as bundles. And so, like, that's where he makes the bulk of his money. So I would do that series. Would I do your YA? Probably not. But I do sell a lot of like, for a long time, my YA made 60 to 70% of my income. But I also launched a year ago where this year was really bad for YA books. So I guess it's kind of like
So if I'm looking at, if I have a limited budget for audio, do I spend it on my new books coming out instead of my backlist? That's kind of my question. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, do I invest it where I'm going or where I've been? So I don't know. It's kind of
my goal for 2020 is, like, this is one of my, is to get my books finished and get them edited and then get them turned into audiobooks. So when they launch, all 3 things are ready to go. So I would say, honestly, do your Regency and then do your Regency.
Yeah.
Like, I think Regency would sell really, really well as audio. And then next would be your Rich and Famous, because those are books that you have currently and you can put them out. And I think they would sell for you.
So they wouldn't be that expensive to get an audio done.
No. And then you could bundle them, put them as a box set, put it up. And there's I think ACX is trying to help people make this more profitable. So, and you could always do royalty share. I wouldn't suggest that. I would just find someone and pay them outright, because you make more money. But the thing is you have books to promo now. So you will be promoting your Rich and Famous series, and through promoting, you get an increase in downloads when you do that. So
yeah.
All right. Do you guys ever watch Hallmark movies for inspiration or ideas?
Of course.
I watch them for what not to do, because sometimes they're so corny that I'm like, my books are way better than these.
I watch that. Yeah, I do watch them to be like, okay, so this is like the trope. This is the cliche. This is why it's not working. So how do I make it better? But sometimes it's just inspiration, as in, like, it's Christmas going on in the background, and it, just is part of my world and makes me happy. And, it's inspiration as far as hitting the beats too, I have to say. Like, the movies hit the beats on the mark, like on target. And yeah, you can feel it coming, and yeah, it's predictable, but it's a really good study in the beats of a romance. So it's good education.
All right, one last question and then we're done. We have to say goodbye. Do you invest in a foreign language, Spanish, German? And I have not. I was approached by Amazon Crossing to translate, but I didn't pay any money. They offered to do it for me. So if someone does that, I say yes. I have not invested in translation because I have not heard great things. Now at Nink, I did hear one author having success doing that. So maybe something to research better. But
so Lisa Vino publishes in German. and it's doing really well for her. So it's definitely something I'm considering. However, I need to research the market more because I don't know how Clean would do. I mean, Lisa
Yes,
Dino
I think
does
most of them
paranormal.
are spicy. Yeah.
She does paranormal, and I know Mark Dawson's doing well in German. As I think it's an emerging market, so it's definitely something I'm interested in. But it's a lot of upfront cost. However, there's a lot less competition. It's cheaper to run ads in that area. A lot of people they get in KU and they bonus. They do a German bonus. So if you're starting out, I would not go into debt to do anything. So if you have cash just sitting around and you want to do it, research it, talk to people, find people who are doing it, pick their brain, offer them a cup of coffee so you guys can sit down, or hot chocolate, and say, let's sit down and let's talk and tell me everything. And I would definitely be very strategic in that.
Awesome. All right. Well, you guys, thank you for joining us tonight and staying up late with the Writing Gals. And we've had a lot of fun talking about our goals. And after we get done, write down your goals and maybe share them in our group. If you're not a part of our group, join our Facebook group, The Writing Gals, and go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you get notifications of when we're on. And thank you all for joining us. Good night.
Good night.